Here's Legion. This is a compilation of various special units from the Heretics of Trench Crusade. So subscribe, leave a like, and may the Prophet Cain continue to narrate more about this great dark universe.
The Heretic fleet maintains naval supremacy on the majority of the seven seas. Only in the Mediterranean do the faithful strive to maintain some parity in order to ensure the supply of New Antioch. But elsewhere, the Heretic naval raiders are an ever-present menace to shipping lanes and coastal communities. Commanded by the high captains, the power of the Heretic fleet is threefold. First, there are the behemoth capital ships built in mockery of the ark that God once bade Noah to construct. These are enormous capital ships, floating cities that act as mobile bases for fast strike craft and the insidious submarines that prowl the shipping lanes and ambush military convoys. For land operations, the fleets employ their infamous naval raiding parties as marine infantry. Naval raiders' armor is modified to double as diving suits, allowing entire strike teams to infiltrate the shoreline batteries or harbor defenses undetected. The diving cylinders of the naval anointed, such as one shown here, hold oxygen mixed with unnatural fumes from the lake of fire, providing up to 66 hours of breathable gas and bestowing a high degree of resistance to decompression sickness. Thus, they can stay submerged for extended periods of time, gathering large infantry strike forces undetected right at the enemy shores. The Heretic naval raiders rarely have problems in finding fresh recruits. Several mighty nobles of hell lay claim over the seven seas, attracting many of their worshippers to the fleets. And there is plentiful loot, as well as many chances for promotion and finding favor in the eyes of their infernal overlords through deeds of wanton murder, despoiling the places where saints once spread the faith of the tyrant god the heretics hate, white-hot rage. A favorite tactic of the naval raiders is to sneak upon their target in the cover of night, striking at dawn in honor of the morning star. This serves the dual purpose of taking the enemies when they are at their most vulnerable, as well as a blasphemous ritual in honor of the throne that the infernal lords one day wish to erect on Mount Zaphon after toppling the seat of Yahweh. Artillery witches stalk the battlefields, hurling ordnance, assembled in the death factories of Hell's third circle. They are completely mute and no one has ever seen their faces. Some question if they are even living, and there are tales that they too were manufactured in Hell. They can pull an infinite number of infernal bombs from a portal to Hell that they manifest at will, summoning them to their hands from a gate of midnight blackness. Many unfortunates fall into the hands of the Heretic warbands, either during one of their many raids or battles, or purchased from the slave markets within their own territories. Some are foolhardy adventurers who travel into the domains of the damned only to be caught by their watchful patrols. Their lot is grim and terrible. They are worked to death in the factories of 66 lords, butchered for meat, or worst of all, sold or offered to the agents of the court of the seven-headed serpent to be used as raw power for goetic spells. Yet one path to freedom exists. They can volunteer to serve in the legions as the lowest of low, the most disposable of penal troops. For the law of hell is clear. Those who rebel against God can gain their freedom if they are deemed to have performed sufficiently great deeds. Thus, it is no wonder that many heretic warbands drive swarms of the wretched ahead of them to blunt and slow down the enemy assaults. Wretched are branded with cursed flesh-eating tattoos as a safeguard against escape and heavily drugged to degrade and dull their will, while still leaving their aggression intact. Heretic elites discard the lives of the wretched carelessly, as their sacrifice on the battlefield counts as a worthy deed which will be rewarded by their patrons. Trench Ghost's greed for worldly wealth and items of power remains undiminished, and their semi-corporeal bodies are exceedingly difficult to destroy. Their faces covered with gas masks they no longer have any use for. At close combat they whisper of the agony of their existence and the pain of their doom which will never give them rest, their broken bodies and shattered minds forced to endure the horrors of war for all eternity. Sometimes when heretic troopers die upon a hallowed ground or in presence of an uncorrupted holy relic, they become trapped between planes of existence. Claimed by neither heaven nor hell, the trench ghosts become undead, doomed to fight a war without an end, attacking both the faithful and heretic alike, hating all life, obeying commands that no living can hear. Their greed for worldly wealth and items of power remains undiminished, and their semi-corporeal bodies are exceedingly difficult to destroy. their faces covered with gas masks they no longer have any use for. At close combat, they whisper of the agony of their existence and the pain of their doom, which will never give them rest, their broken bodies and shattered minds forced to endure the horrors of war for all eternity. Few can withstand such terror without breaking. Tales are told of many trench ghost warbands that haunt no man's land, but the most famous are the ghosts of Tannenberg, shades of the heretic force that won the Battle of Tannenberg, but after sacking the Church of Saint, Jacob passed into the shadow. The warbands who follow the Prince of Greed call themselves the Knights of Avarice. Such heretics display their wealth extravagantly and prefer to carry the most expensive and hard-to-acquire weapons, armor, and equipment, and suffer none to join them who lacks means to acquire their glittering panoply. They are festooned with chains of gold and finest silk cloaks, and their armor is gilded with gold and decorated with precious stones, and the handles of their great coin hammers are made of the rarest of wood. Yet despite the opulent wealth at display, their finery is tarnished by blood and soot that spews from the Hellgate, and the delicate artistic filigree of their golden masks is both terrible and beautiful in equal measure. In combat, they favor hammers and clubs that break the bones but leave the flesh and blood intact, as well as poison gas and highly accurate rifles. They scorn crude and destructive fire or explosive weapons that could damage any objects of value. After the Knights of Avarice have claimed a victory in combat, they scour the battlefield or any settlement they've conquered like a swarm of locusts. Anything and everything of value is taken. Metals from brass to bronze and from silver to gold, art objects, precious stones, livestock, trade goods, rare tomes and scrolls, all are meticulously catalogued and carried away by slaves and demonic beasts of burden or great armored cars that take the stolen loot to the vast underground treasure chambers which act as the temple's mammon. Even the dead are stripped of their flesh with an impassioned skill of a seasoned butcher's, ready to be sold at markets of the heretic domains. And internal organs taken from their fallen victims are carefully preserved in alchemical liquids to be sold to the scientists of the infernal laboratories. For the heretics of the path of mammon hoarding riches is not mere, it is their religious compulsion. Ironically, they gain little pleasure from their vast wealth, as their greed makes them continuously desire ever greater riches. Thus their warbands roam the no man's land, looking for forgotten treasures or foes to dissect and turn into wealth.